My first job was I was a welder. We were making lampshades, and we were making the ring for the lampshade and welding it together. So um, that was pretty cool. I had my own welding machine, and because I was so little, they called me shrimp, and I had the word shrimp written on my machine, and it was fun. I was being a regular, ordinary teenager there. I was able to because my mother wasn't around, and I was more or less had more freedom, and I've got friends. We went out to this park called Lincoln Park, and we'd go meet our boyfriends there. And I had a boyfriend. His name was Joe Gutierrez. I was worried he was related to my cousins. We had Gutierrez cousins, but he wasn't. So then that went on for a couple of years. And I came back home because my father got sick. And we thought he was going to die, but he didn't die. And
How old
I was maybe 18 by then. Yeah. And I think I went back to LA.
is that when you met my dad?
That's when I met your father. Yeah, yeah. We went back, and he was 5 years older than me. He had a nice car. He, I guess I was fascinated with him because he was older. He had a car, and we started dating. And Alice's husband didn't like him. He told me that if I continued going out with him, that he was going to not let me come back home. And one night we went out, and he says, if you go out with him, you're not coming back home. So I still went out with him. And when I got back, he had locked the doors on me. So Tony said, well, I'll take you to my sister's. So we went to his sister's, and besides, I had nowhere to go. So he said, well, let's get married. So I said, okay, we'll get married. We called my mother and my father. We told them we were going to go get married over there. And it was a quick marriage. We came back and had a little dinner. And I think we were married to each other for, I guess, a year. I got pregnant from you when I was after 3 months of marriage. And he was not a good person.
How did you meet?
He was a drug addict. But when you're young and you think you can save the world, you think, well, I can change him. I'll marry him and he'll change for me. But of course that never happens. So after you were born, I think you were 3 months, and I decided I did not want to raise you with a man that did drugs. So I told him I was leaving. He cared enough for us to want to go get the cure. So he committed himself to this place called Camarillo. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But he stayed there 6 months, and he cured himself, and we would visit him. We'd go visit him. And when he came out, that same day he went right back to looking for drugs. Right back to that. And I thought, no, I'm not raising my son with a man that does drugs. So I called my mother and I told her I was going back home. And I did. I went back home. I packed our stuff. I took the furniture. I left him in an empty house. And I went back home. And then Mary and I decided to get our own place, and we got our own place. We got a house, and we had you there. Well, Tony was angry because I just left the way I did, and he found out where we lived. And one day he kidnapped you. I had you on the porch, on the stroller, just sunning, I guess, and I came out and you were gone. And I got scared, I didn't know what to do, so I called the police, and they started trickling the block, and they saw him rolling you around the corner in the stroller. So they brought you back to me. So that was kind of scary. But in those days, crime wasn't so bad, so he was a stupid man. He just, I guess, I don't know what he was thinking, but he took you, and I got you back. He kept bothering me. He kept harassing us. But then we met your dad, Jaime, and you were 6 months then. And we just hit it off real well, and we got together. And that was when Tony stopped harassing us, because your father, Jaime, told him that if he didn't stop harassing you, that he was going to kick his ass. So he said, okay, he goes, you take him, you support him, he's yours now. And Jaime said, fine, don't ever come back to this house. And that's the end of it. We never saw him again. I was married to Jaime James Pierre, yes. We had you, since you were 6 months, he raised you. Then we had Jimmy. No, actually we had the little girl that we lost. And she was stillborn at 9 months. Then we had Jimmy, which was, 6 years later. And he was named after his father, James R. Pierre. And then 3 years later we had Christina. And that was the end of our little family. There was only 3 of you. It was my brother Bobby the way I met him is they were in this go-kart club, and then I started going with my brother to the club and watching the go-karts race. And then we'd go to this VFW club, and I saw Jaime, and I thought he was so cute, so I told my brother, you got to introduce me, and that was the beginning of a pretty good life with your dad. It was a good life.
We had some fun.
We had lots of fun. We went back to Ensenada, remember? You and I, and well, the family. We went back to Ensenada. We did the Ensenada thing again. And those were the best years of our lives, going to Ensenada and having fun. We went out and spent money, and he stayed in Frank.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins, yeah. We'd go to the beach for a week, and we'd land another week at the ranch, and we'd stay there. And it was fun because we had to get the water from the well. And did you ride horses? I don't remember.
Sometimes
We
would
rode the horses.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, the end of the life with your father was kind of hard, because by that time he had become a full-blown alcoholic. He was never sober anymore, and we just weren't getting along. It was difficult with him, always drunk.